India's squad for the Asia Cup is released, and well, no surprises there. Obviously, there is drama. Obviously, people are unhappy. I mean, Shreyas Iyer didn't do enough. No Yashasvi Jaiswal. After all the service, after all the greatness that he has showcased, Sanju Samson, will he even make the 11? And Prashid Krishna, I guess getting the purple cap in the IPL, it's just not enough, bud. And look, I mean, I think the reason, as is always the reason, is going to be everybody's favorite word. Yes, you know what I'm talking about. That beautiful, beautiful word, balance. Because I feel like that's what it came down to. Because if we look at Shreyas Iyer, okay, this is going to be the probable 11 that they're going to go for. Okay, this is what some of us are thinking, at least. You look at all the right-handed batters in there. Okay, there's already quite a few of them, if we're being honest. Okay, so adding Shreyas Iyer into the mix there, it will kind of mess with balance. Maybe they feel as though Shreyas Iyer didn't do enough. Look, here's the other question that you need to ask yourself. If somebody like a Jaiswal, because I mean, we assume that Abhishek Sharma is being picked over Jaiswal because they think that he has been performing better than Jaiswal. So maybe it's about form, maybe it's about ability, maybe it's about what's been going on, even though Jaiswal had a pretty good last IPL, but maybe they just think that Abhishek Sharma is better than Jaiswal. I don't necessarily agree with this because I think many times Abhishek Sharma has showed that when it comes to after a power play, he's not really been as effective, which is actually something that happens to a lot of young batters when they come onto the scene. And then you have to learn new skills, you know, how to rotate the strike, how to find the gaps, etc., etc. But here's the other interesting thing for me is this tournament is going to be in the UAE. Okay, Abhishek Sharma doesn't have a very good record at Chepauk. Okay, as you guys have listened to me and watched me over the last few months, I've been going on and on about the Sunrisers, you know, how some of them can only bat on flat pitches, etc., etc. I'm not here to make fun of the Sunrisers. I'm not here to do Kavya Maran any harm and so on. But, you know, this does say something to us that Abhishek Sharma doesn't have a very good record where the ball is actually spinning. We're playing in the UAE, guys. You're going to be facing the likes of the Afghanistan spinners running in. Pakistan have got some good spinners. The UAE themselves have got some good spinners. So there's something to keep in mind. But let's get back to what I said originally. Let's say they think that Jaiswal is not as good as Abhishek Sharma. It's about form. Can't the same thing then be said for Shreyas Iyer versus Shivam Dube, Rinku Singh? Because look, Rinku and Dube didn't have the best IPLs. Again, two left-handed batters. You know, do you need two lefties? Why not just have one? What about the backup? What if something happens to Sky, Surya Kumar Yadav, touch wood, that something does not. But what about having a right-handed batter backup? Because I feel like you're not going to have it. And now you're going to tell me Yitish Sharma. Look, I just showed you my 11 earlier on. I believe that because Sanju Samson, guys, and the other part that we're going to have to talk about is flexibility. How flexible are some of these people? And because Shubman Gill has been made the vice captain, obviously, he is going to be opening alongside Abhishek Sharma. I mean, we all know that that is what is going to happen. Okay, I mean, it's written in stone. It's there. It's done. So where does Sanju Samson then come in, right? Because you've got the likes of Tilak Varma, Surya Kumar Yadav, who's very used to changing positions depending on the situation. They've kind of cemented their spot there at number 3 and number 4. I can't see them bringing in Sanju Samson at number 5 because it's not his position, right? He's an opening batter. So then they're obviously rather going to go for somebody like a Yitish because that's his position, right? And he's also played well recently. And because of his form, he gets into the team. So some players get into the team because of their form and because they've played well. But with other players like Shreyas Iyer, it does not seem to matter. Okay, I think it was Akash Chopra who spoke about Shreyas against the short ball, how he's improved against that, how he's turned that weakness into a weapon now, but it just does not seem to be good enough. Okay, we can now go back to Sanju Samson. You know, look at these stats here for India. But Shubman Gill, because India really want the all format kind of leader, they want to, what's the word? They want to push him in everywhere. Remember, Rahul Dravid dropped Shreyas before that T20 World Cup, okay, for various reasons. For me, it's also been, when it comes to the crunch games, we've sometimes seen him not really getting over the line. He had a good series in England, but again, you know, on those tougher pitches where the ball actually does a bit more, the Oval, Lords, he struggled. And this is going to be, again, we're going to be saying this, we're going to be talking about this a lot now, but this is the UAE. The pitches are not going to be straightforward. So Shubman is being preferred over Sanju Samson. Obviously, it has to be because of that, because in terms of form, in terms of what has been done, would you really pick Shubman if it has nothing to do with the captaincy above Sanju Samson? Would you really pick him? One thing that does have to be said though is that Shubman did have a really, really good IPL. Okay, he was absolutely phenomenal at the top. He's very consistent. He was very consistent in that tournament. Maybe some people feel like he doesn't really bat fast enough, but that's why they've got Abhishek Sharma. But what happens if Abhishek Sharma doesn't do well on those pitches? And if he doesn't, because Abhishek Sharma's strike rate is like, what, 190 or something like that. It's something obscene. Okay, but so maybe they feel like those two together provide some sort of like, they balance each other out. Okay, Sanju and Jaiswal could probably do the same thing. The other thing about Jaiswal is that he is somebody who can take an innings deep. He's done that a few times. He's also somebody that could be very explosive. He's matured a bit in his white ball game as well, where with Abhishek, I mean, we're expecting a short burst. He did score that 100 against England. Okay, that was really, really good. I guess what we will also need to take into account that it has to be really, really difficult to be the selectors, because a lot of these players will walk into international teams across the world, but because India, because they've got so much depth, you guys, it is really difficult. But with Sanju Samson, you know, I'm just going to end off with this. It just feels like he's the type of guy that if something just doesn't go your way, you are out. Maybe you get an injury here, goodbye. It's almost as if sometimes it feels as though they're waiting for a chance to get rid of him. And that even, I couldn't even finish the sentence because it sounds so bad. But then you get people like, sorry, I'm going to have to throw Rishabh under the bus here because I don't think this is his strongest format. But he could very well come back into this format because he's the type of guy that they back consistently, right? Because he obviously does really, really well in Test cricket and so on. Shubman is another guy because he's the leader now. He's going to be backed, and people do that all around the world with their captains, right? Across sports, they even do this. Like, look at Arsenal, Odegaard, last season. I mean, come on. You know, you can't just throw him out. I do understand that, but it just feels like some players are very, very, very unlucky when it comes to these sorts of things. But what do you guys think? I'm sure some people are very happy. And lastly, let's not forget about Prashid Krishna. You know, Harshit Rana being preferred over him. What is this obsession with Harshit Rana? I do feel like the bowling attack, in my opinion, because it is very spinning friendly. I'm sorry I didn't really speak too much about that because it's probably going to have to be Arshdeep and Bumrah. And then you've got your three absolutely phenomenal spinners who's going to wreak havoc in the UAE. And then you've got Hardik Pandya. So I feel bad about that, but I feel like it's because we're playing in the UAE. Where? I'm South African. You guys are playing in the UAE. So yeah, but also I feel like that feels a bit, you know, why is Harshit Rana not the reserve instead of Prashid Krishna? But anyway, what are your thoughts, guys?